us. If that was being done, it wasn't us. And you confirmed that for the record, yes?
No,
it wasn't you. It wasn't what you were funding.
What I'm saying is that I cannot account, nor can anyone account, for other things that might be going on in China, which is the reason why I have always said and will say now, I keep an open mind as to what the origin is. But the one thing I know for sure is that the viruses that were funded by the NIH.
That NIH or NIAID went out to create this thing, but I am a believer that it came out of the lab. And I think you've just made it clear, and sometimes people miss this, Dr. Fauci. One side says one thing, one side says the other, and the actual fact may be that at some time working on that, maybe they used some of our money to get started, maybe they didn't. But a group of scientists getting together might very well, at Wuhan, have said, hey, let's see what happens if we go over here and do this. Not that NIH funded it, but they on their own went off and did something. Isn't that accurate? Isn't that possible?
Well, I actually would want to say that one thing we should put out on the table, that you were talking about a $120,000 a year grant in a $6 billion budget. So, I mean, if they were going to do something on the side, they have plenty of other money to do it. They wouldn't necessarily have to use a $120,000 NIH grant to do it.
And I appreciate that because it means something could happen. I'm glad you kept an open mind. I would ask this one final thing, though. Do you think they could have done it without the humanized mice that we gave them?
Yeah, could have done what, sir?
Could they have done any other research with the humanized mice that we gave them? Would they be successful? China didn't have the humanized mice before we gave them to Wuhan. Isn't it accurate that they might have been able to do extra stuff with our mice?
Sorry, sir. That's a hypothetical that I can't really answer what they could have.
But you can't say it couldn't have happened either. I yield back.
Earlier during testimony, Fauci was called on the table for the 6-foot distancing rule that we all remember experiencing. In fact, he was told, like, look, was that based on any sort of data? And also all the bullying that many Americans felt they went through because of fighting back against mask mandates and vaccine mandates.
Do not hate science, but Americans know hypocrisy when they see it. You were the highest paid person in the government. Dr. Fauci, whether intentional or not, you became so powerful that any disagreements the public had with you were forbidden and censored on social and most legacy media time and time again. This is why so many Americans became so angry, because this was fundamentally un-American.
And it's extremely hard to talk about this, Debbie, I think, because we're just worn out. Even 2 years later, I think we're hesitant to have these conversations because we're so affected. And it was every single day talking about COVID. But I think we need to do a deep dive into what we got right and what we got wrong. And hopefully that's what this testimony is with Dr. Fauci, and this is what I will be listening for, is exactly what did we get wrong so that we don't make the same mistake the next time something like this happens.
In the lead up to this hearing, parts of that interview have again been cherry-picked and distorted in press releases and tweets. So Dr. Fauci, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to publicly clear anything up. Does anything come top of mind right off the bat in how they cherry-picked parts of your 14-hour transcript?
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-day kitchen and bath.
Do you love your house but hate your kitchen? If you want your old kitchen or bath completely new again, totally remodeled and updated to your taste, style, and specifications in just 3 days, call 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. And we mean a complete custom remodel from floor to ceiling in just 3 days, including a 100% satisfaction guarantee with our quality and craftsmanship where you don't pay. No hassle, no stress. We even bring our mobile showroom to you, and you'll be our guest at the the Marriott while we work our magic creating your dream kitchen or bath. Call 3-Day Kitchen and Bath for your free copy of the Kitchen and Bath Remodeling Guide, plus $500 off a complete bathroom remodel with a kitchen and a free design consultation.
It's about time
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
All of your favorite KSL hosts in the palm of your hand.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, it's so early.
They're on your phone.
Great vacation photos. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was fun.
Courtesy of the KSL News Radio app.
That's a family-friendly movie. I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, then. Buy tickets.
When you can't listen live,
Can we talk about something?
Can I wait just a little bit? I got a meeting.
Okay, cool. We'll be here.
listen on the app. The app for KSL News Radio.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. Interest rates are not the only thing that has evolved in the mortgage industry. The way loan programs are priced has also undergone some changes. These days, sometimes FHA loans work out better, even factoring in mortgage insurance. This is because loans have what are called loan level pricing adjustments, and they are usually much higher on conventional loans. These fees are more prominent with cash-out refinances, low down payment purchases, and lower credit score scenarios. These extra costs end up pushing interest rates higher, and this is why a rate quote without context is usually inaccurate. It can be confusing, but we can help you sort through the numbers to see which option fits your situation. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com, NMLS 289115.
I'm John Curtis. As a small businessman, I built gun ranges to help our law enforcement and our military. As mayor of Provo, I took aim at reducing waste, and we balanced our budget. In Congress, I've stood up to Biden and voted repeatedly against his reckless spending.
And when it comes to standing up to D.C. and protecting our land, John Curtis has done that too. He forced the federal government to transfer more land back to Utah than anyone in state history.
I'll never let D.C. bureaucrats or outsiders tell us how to manage our land.
And John Curtis is the only candidate China has threatened to arrest because John stands up to the communist aggression. And Curtis is fighting to secure our border and stop the cartel's deadly flow of drugs in our country.
I will always stand up for America and Utah. That's why I approve this message.
John Curtis, conservative Republican for U.S. Senate.
I'd be honored to have your support.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
IVC is celebrating 20 years providing quality service in Utah. You've probably heard their saying by now, life starts when the pain stops. IVC is the most trusted interventional and vein center in the state, and they've been voted Best of Utah Valley 10 years running. The 7 physicians at IVC provide state-of-the-art, comprehensive vein care with many years of experience. The team at IVC takes the time to get to know you and your veins so you're comfortable with the right diagnosis and the right treatment. Patients are like family at IVC. You've also heard many radio ads over the years with real people describing how IVC has dramatically improved their quality of life by eliminating the pain and discomfort caused by varicose veins. Well, what are you waiting for? Don't let vein disease slow you down even one more day, because life starts when the pain stops. Visit ivein.com today to set up a free screening. That's ivein.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Chad Daybell has been sentenced to death in Idaho, but legal experts say the appeals process could take decades. Second, jury selection is taking place today in the Hunter Biden gun trial. Third, heat-related health issues are expected to start being a problem as we get into the mid-90s later this week, with southern Utah seeing triple-digit heat. Right now it's 72 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
He was the face of the COVID-19 response across America. Dr. Anthony Fauci on the hot seat this morning in front of a House Oversight Committee back in Washington, D.C.
Is to write chapters, medical scientific chapters with me, so it is conceivable that I communicated with him on my private email when we were writing a chapter, and that was not
speaking
official.
right now to emails, and earlier speaking to the origins of COVID, Dave.
Yes, it was one of the very first things that Dr. Fauci brought up. I thought it was fascinating because the idea behind this testimony, and initially Republicans are saying thank you for even showing up because we've been trying to do this and your willingness to talk about this. They were very grateful. But it wasn't a minute into his opening statement that Dr. Fauci wanted to talk about the lab leak theory.
I will now use my remaining time to directly address certain issues that have been seriously distorted concerning me. The first issue concerns my actions regarding the possibility that SARS-CoV-2 might have resulted from a lab leak.
And this was such a hot topic for so long, and it's dominated the testimony so far, is where COVID came from. Did it come from a lab in Wuhan, China, or was it these kind of wet markets where they're eating bats, and did it get transmitted that way? It's a little strange to me that so much time and effort has been spent talking about where COVID came from, where I'm far more interested in what our response was once COVID did hit America.
Well, maybe if it did come from a wet market or a bat market, they'd want to know that so it doesn't happen again. I don't know. Do we know for sure where it came from? I'm feeling like this testimony right now hasn't given us any direct answers. What do you think?
That's a great question. No, we don't have a consensus. I mean, I think everyone has a little bit of a feeling, there's a lot of things pointing toward it coming out of a lab in some way. But again, I don't really care where it came from. What I do want to know from Dr. Fauci, and what I will be listening to, is why did you decide to react and treat COVID and what our response was the way you did?
This is not the first exchange that Anthony Fauci has had with Congress. I mean, they've been going at this for 4 years now?
And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about.
And he's back today before Congress, 2 years after his retirement.
Yes. And I think as we're talking about COVID and how we responded, we have to remember we couldn't go to church. We couldn't go to a restaurant. I was home for 16 months, so we couldn't come to work. Now, that was a work decision. That wasn't a government mandate. But, yeah, couldn't go to church, couldn't go to work, couldn't go to a restaurant. And then when we started to question some of these things, and this is what I remember, is Dr. Fauci came in overly confident, I would even say arrogant.
So it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science because I represent science.
And Dr. Fauci was basically a superstar. I mean, he was on the cover of Vogue magazine. There were Dr. Fauci bobbleheads. He was throwing out first pitches. So anything he did say, it was taken as gospel.
I think for context, though, we need to remember that more than 1 million Americans died, and on their death certificates it says COVID. More than 5,000 Utahns passed away as a result of contracting COVID. So I think there's some early maybe missteps that were made, but maybe we can learn from what we did wrong and what we did right. But there's a lot of families who lost loved ones through all of this.
And that's one of the questions I think we've done a poor job of answering is how many people died because of COVID and how many died with COVID? Was it COVID that pushed them over the edge, or was it because they had so many comorbidities that one more thing just caused them to lose their life?
Also, it'd be good to know if you have a comorbidity or you're more susceptible to a disease like this, if you catch it. So the people who are more susceptible can know what to do. Should they mask up? Should they stay home? Should they socially distance? How far away should they be? So the 8 foot, there's a couple of things that I really hope come out of this, or the 6 foot, stay away from me from 6 feet sounded really...
6 foot social distancing. That'll keep you safe.
Sounded super arbitrary for me and to me. And that was one of the things that was brought up by Representative Brad Wenstrup out of Ohio, I believe, right? Ohio. He's a doctor. He brought up a few things that really kind of caught my attention off the top of this, Dave.
Americans were aggressively bullied, shamed, and silenced for merely questioning or debating issues such as social distancing, masks, vaccines,
Never heard
or
of
the origins
social
of COVID.
distancing until COVID-19. So I want to know why the 6-foot rule, how that popped up. And in fact, when Strip said it wasn't even based on anything regarding science, it was just based on, I don't know, a measuring stick. And then also the other thing I want to know about is who decided that we all had to push grocery carts down in the same direction down grocery aisles.
Debbie, I totally had forgotten about it. There were arrows in the aisles saying, you go east, west, you go.
It seems so weird to me. Like the person in front of me was breathing and I'm passing through with my cart right behind them. So we did do some really strange things that deserve, I think, addressing. And then a lot of kids ended up falling behind on learning because they were forced to stay home. And if they had a single parent at home who was also trying to work and they didn't have any help to get them through the lessons of the day, I think we need to learn a lot more about why we did that, what the underlying reasons were for that decision, and then how can we do things different in the future.
And I give a lot of grace early on because it was novel. It was brand new. We didn't know where this was coming from.
It was 15 days to crush the curve, Dave.
Oh, you remember that? But we did that for months and months and months.
It was
and months.
years.
Oh, years, yes.
I felt like we didn't get back to normal until the summer of 2022, maybe.
The problem I had, one of my biggest frustrations was, speaking of kids, we knew early on within the first 6 months at the minimum, that kids were not being affected by coronavirus, or if they did contract it, they were not ending up in the hospital. They were very resilient, but we shut down schools. And even though we realized, this isn't really affecting kids, we were saying, stay at home no matter what. And I think that's when people started asking the question that it was being vilified, and they were being vilified and saying, you don't care about the teachers? You don't care about their safety? You don't care? When we could have been far more strategic and said, who is this affecting? The elderly with comorbidities. That's who it was affecting. The vast majority of people.
I think we should have done a better job early on protecting the elderly, especially who were in
definitely
that assisted living facilities and shutting those down, and also making sure we were keeping them safe if they were living in our homes, with checking on them, maybe without coming in contact with them. But these are lessons we learned along the way. I don't know that we would have known this by April of 2020, Dave.
And this is why it's so important that we discuss this and that we watch this testimony, because we have to have learned something, right? And I don't want to just focus exclusively on this lab leak theory or where COVID came from. Let's talk about all the other stuff about how we reacted so we can learn from it.
Straight ahead, he signed an executive order to ban TikTok, but that was 4 years ago. Now former President Trump launching his own TikTok account.
The president is now on TikTok. It's my honor.
Yes, first post went viral. Maybe that's because the results of a new poll of how Americans feel about his new title. Convicted felon. That's next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour: ballots for this year's primary elections will start going out in the mail tomorrow. All registered Utah voters are supposed to get a ballot in the mail. Election officials say if you don't get one shortly after June 18th, contact your county clerk's office. Election day is June 25th. Homes continue to get more expensive in Utah, up nearly 6% compared to this time last year.
Don't let the numbers scare you. Go and talk to a realtor and see what the housing situation looks like for your own situation, because you might be able to get into homeownership sooner than you think.
Deanna Devi with the Utah Realtors Association says buying a home is still an important investment that can help people build equity. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: California firefighters say they've made significant progress on a wildfire east of San Francisco. The Coral Fire has burned 22 square miles and destroyed at least one home. Evacuation orders in the city of Tracy have been lifted, but the cause of the fire is unknown. Your money at this moment, right now, the Dow is off 232. That's 0.6%. We're at 38,453. Coming up, a little bit of rain today before the heat comes later this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous You Don't Need a Warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our You Don't Need a Warranty warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like rowing upstream, but it's a river, a whitewater river, and the only paddles you have are pool noodles. Then when a new to-do pops up, you're like, nope, I'm already rowing upstream with these pool noodle paddles. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to get personalized discounts with a commercial auto insurance quote online, so your to-do list is smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them.
With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise.
No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures.
It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
Hello, this is Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. I'm running for re-election to keep Utah's conservative values in Washington, D.C. Like you, I'm tired of a government that spends too much, listens too little, and makes all of our lives harder. In Washington, I'm pushing back against bad ideas, liberal policies, and politicians who've been there longer than I've been alive. Keep me in Washington so I can keep fighting for you, because we're just getting started.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have a bit of slow traffic on northbound I-15 in the Salt Lake Valley. This is between I-80 East that would take you to Sugar House up to about 1300 South. It was due to two different crashes that were about half a mile apart from each other. They were over on the right shoulder. One of them is cleared completely. The other still has one vehicle over on the right shoulder near 2100 South. So cars are still a little slow in that area. Everyone else is moving along nicely across the Wasatch Front. Make Father's Day easy and get the best gift ever. A blanket or robe from Minky Couture. Shop online at minkycouture.com or any Minky store. Best gift ever. Minky Couture. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Wood up to 78 degrees for high today with scattered showers this afternoon, but then we start to warm up. 94 on Thursday, 96 on Friday. Right now, cloudy and 71 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Donald Trump found guilty. In-depth coverage on KSL News Radio.
Well, that could be why he suddenly and abruptly joined TikTok. That and the fact that a lot of young voters are on TikTok.
The president is now on TikTok. It's my honor.
Maybe he also saw the results of a new ABC Ipsos poll, Dave, that shows half of Americans think Trump's guilty verdict was correct, and he should end his campaign over it.
Isn't it hilarious to see these politicians, as soon as they see that there's some benefit to be had by using TikTok, they join TikTok. Biden joined TikTok months ago. President Trump, same thing. It's like, oh, if I can get an edge, then maybe all of this TikTok banning and demonizing of the Chinese companies, that just goes out the window because I might get a few more clicks.
Dennis Derrick with ABC News standing by for us this morning. Good morning. Derek. Hi. Dennis, how are you?
Yes,
sorry about
good.
that. It's a Monday for
worries.
me, too. It's a Monday here in Salt Lake, just so you know.
You can call me Noriega Dave if you want. That's totally fine.
No worries.
So tell us about the results of this new poll. That looks like it was done on the 31st and the 1st, right after the verdict.
Exactly. And it took an accounting of Americans and how they feel about the Trump verdict, him being found guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records to pay off Stormy Daniels over their alleged sexual encounter. So the poll results, you said it, 50% of Americans think the former president's guilty verdict was correct. Almost as many, 49%, think he should just go ahead and end his 2024 presidential campaign. But it's important to note that most Republicans are still backing Trump. According to our poll, 1 in 6, or 16%, I should say, of Republicans say the verdict was correct and that he should drop out. So that means that 84% thinks he's fine and shouldn't drop out at all. So that's on the Republican side. So a big swath of numbers, but the bottom line is when you look at the country as a whole, according to this poll, most Americans think Trump should be done after his guilty verdicts.
Was there any kind of delineation or demographic that felt one way stronger than others? Like, did the young feel differently than the old? Like, did that break down at all, or was this just a broad sample?
Yeah, it was just a broad sample. There was no breakdown that way, but there was a breakdown in terms of the drilling down a little further in this poll. 47% of Americans in the poll think the charges against Trump in the case were politically motivated. 38% said that they were not. And a small number, about 1%, think Trump intentionally did something illegal in the case. 12% think he did something wrong, but not intentionally, and about 19% believe he didn't do anything wrong at all. And so, the numbers are pretty wide, but the big number is that 50% of Americans think the guilty verdict was correct.
Let me just ask you, has he indicated at all that he plans on following the suggestions of half of these Americans and just dumping and running out of the race right now, Derek?
It seems the opposite. You mentioned he's joined TikTok. He and his legal team are vowing to appeal. He's still raising, according to his campaign, millions of dollars in donations that can keep him in the race. And, he was asked in an interview, if he were to go to jail, what would that mean, or how would the reaction play? And he said that he thinks a lot of Americans won't stand for it, and some see that as a sort of a dog whistle, a call to action, that if he were to go to jail. So pretty dangerous rhetoric, if you consider it that, from the former president.
Derek Dennis, thank you for joining us, ABC News correspondent out of New York.
I think President Trump is definitely doubling down. I don't think he has any intention on leaving this race.
Because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess.
Yeah, saying all kinds of things about the verdict after it was read last week.
I'm a very innocent man, And it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution.
And remember, it was Friday morning live on the show here, Dave, where we took his news conference, his postmortem after the verdict, all 34 counts came back in favor of the prosecution. He was found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records, that he was going after, once again, the judge. He called him the devil. He called him the world
tyrant.
Yeah, a tyrant. So it sounds to me like he's launching a campaign against a judge in New York. And I'll be curious to see how that rhetoric impacts his campaign and his decisions on the campaign trail over the next couple of months.
I guess in part what doesn't surprise me about this number, because that is a big number, 50% of people think that the verdict was correct, that he should end his campaign. Well, about 50% of people support Trump or don't. If you look at even back to 2020, 49% voted for Trump, 49% voted for, Biden. I mean, it's within just a few points. So largely half of America, even in the general election, supported Trump or supported Biden. So I can't say that that's terribly surprising.
Does it surprise you that half of them felt like, I guess, his hush money trial verdict was incorrect? If 50% think President Donald Trump's guilty verdict on all 34 counts in his hush money trial was correct, that means half of them think either the jury got it wrong or they feel like it was politically motivated.
Well, and those numbers that Derek Dennis was talking about, he said, that a huge percentage of people think that it is politically motivated. So it's really through the lens of that you're watching this. If you're a Trump supporter, you think, oh yeah, this is a witch hunt, just like he's been saying all along. If you're a Democrat and you don't like him at all, then obviously you're going to think, oh, that was a fantastic jury, the best jury in the history of juries.
When I found out he was on TikTok this weekend,
The president is now on TikTok. It's my honor.
I thought, copycat. President Biden was the first to join TikTok, and a lot of people bashed him for that. A lot of Republicans bashed him for that. So I guess China's not that big of a threat after all. And President Trump was the first, he was the first one to sign the executive order a few years ago trying to ban TikTok. It failed in the courts. He didn't get very far. So now he's leaning into TikTok. I think he's desperate. He's desperate for young voters, and he's trying to reach them through TikTok.
You say it's copycat. I say it's hypocrite. And not just for Donald Trump, for Joe Biden as well. President Biden joined it during the Super Bowl, I believe. And after they've been so strong and talking about the dangers of TikTok and how the Chinese government can be taking all of our information and using it to manipulate, and then they join it. Like that's the height of hypocrisy. I have been the lover of TikTok from day one. I've defended TikTok from day one. So at least I'm not a hypocrite. I may be wrong. At least I'm not a hypocrite. But I look at these two politicians, and it just tells me they will say and do whatever they think will win the moment. He should have stayed off of TikTok. If you're going to demonize it, if you're going to speak against it, then stay true to that belief. But as soon as you think, oh, I don't know, I might get a little bump in voting because of this, I join it, that's awful.
Mm-hmm. Next, it's happening to businesses all over Salt Lake City. Profits suddenly smothered when street construction stymies traffic and customers. It's not just for a few weeks. This goes on for months and months, in some cases years.
I came in one day and just saw that my parking out front had cones and no parking. It's just no surprise that it deters people, that they have to be creative about how to get here. It's
now it's happening in Sugar House. Businesses doomed as orange cones keep customers away. We're going to have a business owner live on the line next to tell us how bad things are for her.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Paid for by government.com. Have you heard? A recent stash of 1902 Morgan silver dollar coins has been found. These gorgeous 1902 silver dollar coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 300 of these Morgan silver dollars are available. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone interested in silver coins. Just call government at 1-800-806-1641, and you are guaranteed a mint condition 1902 Morgan silver dollar, featuring the iconic old mint mark of the New Orleans Mint, but with limited quantity. You must call now. These 1902 silver coins are still in uncirculated condition. That is 122 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-806-1641. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $25 value free with every order. Call 1-800-806-1641 now to secure your 1902 Morgan silver dollars before they sell out. That's 1-800-806-1641.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, our first summer heat wave is on the way, with northern Utah expected to be in the mid-90s by Thursday, and southern Utah above the 100-degree mark starting Wednesday. Second, a $4 million renovation is underway at Ogden's Pioneer Stadium, and they're expected to be finished in time for the Pioneer Day celebration. And third, Elder Garrett W. Gong of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles dedicated the Taylorsville Temple this weekend for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Right now, cloudy and 71 degrees in Salt Lake. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know, we do tout that Utah supports new businesses. We encourage it. But when construction happens...
I came in one day and just saw that my parking out front had cones and no parking. It's just no surprise that it
like
deters
what was going
people,
on 3rd West
they
near
have to be
21st
creative
South
about how to
for
get here. It's like a puzzle
years.
to get to some parts of
And now in Sugar House, it does feel like we leave businesses to their own devices to try to figure out how to make a profit without any parking or, through traffic.
And I don't know what the solution is, because especially when you're talking about downtown or congested or busy areas where there isn't an easy detour or parking, this can devastate businesses.
Now, we've been talking about this construction in Sugar House for quite some time. In fact, you and I were out there not too long ago to meet with a client, and there was some construction in that area. And I came in from another direction than you did. I think you were a little more trapped in the construction zone than I was. The Salt Lake Tribune just did an analysis on what's going on in Sugar House, which has been under construction for quite some time, right around 21st South and 1100 East. And they were talking about a coffee shop in the area and a tea and wine cafe in the area and a bar in the area. And they all seem like they're just struggling, Dave.
Doesn't make a lot of sense how we handle these things, because obviously, if from the city's point of view, if you have construction to do, if you're going to change a road or you're going to do some sort of renovation, what's your option? You have to get in there. It's going to be messy. It's going to be congested, and everyone else is going to just have to deal with it. Well, that's devastating to the business owner.
I hate to say it, but I avoid areas
I totally
that are
do.
under construction.
Yes.
And if I get trapped in a construction zone, it's just because I was having a hard day and I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot that there was a construction zone. There was all that construction on 300 West, not too far from here. I would get trapped in it from time to time as I was trying to head. Maybe I needed to make run an errand to Home Depot down there on 21st South. I'd be like, why didn't I go out to the one in South, in Riverton or something like that? I forgot about this. So I feel bad for business owners, but I am guilty of not supporting them when construction happens.
One of the frustrations, and I was talking to a business owner not too long ago about the construction, how it impacts his place. He said, the biggest frustration I have is the city doesn't communicate where they're at, how long they're going to be there, so that they can make some changes. There's days where he said, we should have just shut down because it was completely inaccessible. If I would have just
stayed home.
We could have stayed home because nobody was coming in, or just a handful.
Horrible.
And he said that way I don't have to pay for the entire staff. Maybe I give them a day off. But he said the biggest thing they could fix is communication, like detailed communication with the business owners.
Sarah Snow, owner of Pibbs Exchange. I was looking you guys up, Sarah, and it looks like you buy, sell, and you trade some vintage and new clothing. So I would imagine that this is a good season for you right now as we head into summer to make some sales. So how is construction impacting your business out there in Sugar House?
Yes, this is Sarah. Thanks so much for having us join you. Yes, the construction has very much impacted us. We've actually been dealing with construction quite a bit since the construction of two towers right next to us, and residential towers started back in 2022, early 2022. So we have been, it's been a few years that we've been dealing with this construction, and we realize that, it's a needed thing, obviously, with the Highland Drive project that, we were dealing with that 6 months ago where the roads were closed one way and people, really were having a hard time getting to us and everything. So
how do you handle it? What do you do to maybe weather some of these construction woes?
Well, we've bumped up our, advertising, letting people know, we're still in business, telling people, to tell their friends we're still here and you can still get down here, even though you have to navigate, around the traffic or the construction. But, it's important for people to know that we're still here and we value everyone's business in the area. Obviously it still needs to be updated, and that's why we've got all this construction going on. But
yeah. And they're doing. It looks like it's like the trifecta of construction projects because they've got the water, the sewer, the storm drains they're redoing, plus the bonus round of redoing the old pavement in the area. Sarah, do you feel like as an owner there, business owner in Sugar House, has the city been really good about communicating with businesses, including yours?
There has been communication. There's been different meetings that we've gone to and everything. But still, there is some communication that falls through, especially when you have, in our area, especially when you have new construction crews that come in and they don't know all the details and they've got to get refreshed and, and they don't know that they're not supposed to park in front of our building so that we have spaces for our customers and things like that.
Did you say there was new development homes being built in that area? Have you had any contact with developers? Did they reach out to you at all?
Well, we've had some liaisons. We've got Bill Knowles that speaks with them along with our landlord that communicates with them about the concerns that we have. Yeah.
Sarah, how much do you think business has dropped off since construction started?
Yeah, it's a variation over the last few years, around 30%. It's been really significant for us.
Have you had to lay anybody off because of it?
We haven't. No, we've found other ways of. We've had different people acquire different jobs, but we haven't really had to lay off.
And this is supposed to go on until the fall of 2025. That's what I read in the Tribune. What are your thoughts on that?
We're buckling up and preparing for it. For us, it's about communication to our customers, just making sure, again, that they know that we're still here and that they can navigate through it. One of our biggest challenges is being a buy-sell trade store. We do have customers that bring clothing to sell to the store, and so if they're not able to find parking, we have let them know that we can come and help them at their vehicle to bring items into the store so that we can purchase things. So that's something that we're trying to do to help out.
Just in 20 seconds, Sarah, is there one thing that you would like to see the city do better to help your businesses in that area, in the Sugar House area, out?
I would love to see, I don't know where it could come from, but any sort of contribution financially or some sort of grant. I know there's the construction mitigation grant that we've, been able to apply for and get, it's a $3,000 to help go towards our marketing. But, communication obviously is the key. A little bit more improved communication as well as any direction on help financially.
Well, thank you and best of luck. Sarah Snow, thank you for joining us, owner of Phibbs Exchange in Sugar House.
Yeah, we'll be by. How about if we stop by?
Road trip?
Yeah, stop by and buy some summer clothing there, and then also enjoy the cafe in the area as well and other shops and Sugar House. They've been saddled with construction, which can drive down profits. And you just heard from her there that it's been a 30% dip. That's huge. That's huge for any business, let alone a small business. Straight ahead, he was found guilty of murder, and Chad Daybell now been given the death penalty.
The court is directed that the defendant would be sentenced to death on those counts.
But what was going on inside the courtroom on Saturday that has our legal analyst, Greg Skordas, saying at least one juror didn't appear comfortable with voting to execute Chad Daybell? Greg's on the line next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. A jury has given Chad Daybell the death penalty, and now attorneys expected to soon file the first of a year's worth of appeals. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas says he expects some appeals to focus on how Chad told the judge he didn't want to call any witnesses or present evidence during the penalty phase less than 24 hours after being found guilty.
I think he was entitled to much more of a discussion, even up to and including an evaluation before he made that decision.
Greg says he expects the case to be argued at the state level before eventually finding its way to the federal courts. On her way to a 9th National Gymnastics Championship, Simone Biles offered some coaching and confidence to a competitor. She went over and talked with Sinisa Lee after Lee fell on the vault during the meet. Then she cheered Lee on the uneven bars, and Lee wound up in 4th place. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down right now, 241 points, while the NASDAQ is up 64. And our KSL weather, we could see some showers this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time 10:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow pleather pajamas, and I'm just not sure I'm pulling them off.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
With big tech coming after our kids,
the inflow of illegal drugs coming to our state.
For Attorney General, we need someone we can trust to do the right thing for the right reason.
That's Derek Brown.
Derek fought to protect kids on social media.
He'll defend the Second Amendment.
Stand up to Biden when he tries to take our lands.
Derek Brown will fight to secure the border.
And that's the kind of leadership we really need.
We trust Derek Brown for Attorney General.
I'm supporting Derek Brown.
Paid for by Derek Brown for Attorney General.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. And here's Heather Kelly.
We're looking good all across the Wasatch Front. No delays. I-15 northbound or southbound getting into downtown Salt Lake. Bangerter Highway has a bit of slowdowns, though. Northbound trying to get to 4700 South. That is due to construction and lane restrictions in the area, but that's the only issue I'm seeing. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
And it looks like we're going to see some showers this afternoon with a high of 78. Partly cloudy, 78 tomorrow. Then it heats up with highs in the 90s by Thursday. Right now, we're at 72 degrees and cloudy. I'm Dan Bonas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, the trial of Chad Daybell. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
I was watching it happen on Saturday morning, just before 11:30. I clicked onto the live feed, Dave, out of that courtroom in Idaho, where a jury had been meeting for a day and a half to determine whether to put Chad Daybell, who they found guilty of triple murder, whether to put him to death.
The jury has made a finding that it would be appropriate to impose the death penalty as it relates to counts 1 through 6 in the amended indictment.
That was the
and
judge.
So pursuant to Idaho Code 19.2515.
Putting it in layman's terms, what the jury had decided. And they decided on all 3 counts that he deserved the death penalty.
And
or all 3 murders, I should say. They were 4 counts.
It was such a heartbreaking story, and we've been following it so closely. Chad Daybell from Utah grew up in Utah, and the grisliness of the murders was so awful. And we really do, whether it's in Idaho or Utah, we do the same thing here in Utah. We reserve the death penalty for only the worst, most egregious and diabolical cases. So I can't say that I'm surprised, but I also understand that there was some hesitation from the jury as they were trying to determine whether or not this should be a difficult decision to make.
Found guilty of murdering his then wife, Tammy Daybell, and also his then girlfriend, 2 children, Lori Vallow's 2 children, Tylee and JJ. The 2 kids were buried in his backyard, found buried in his backyard in Idaho, and his wife was found dead in her home. Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, were you watching that death penalty decision on Saturday like I was? I was watching it over a Facebook feed that was on KSL5 Television's Facebook feed. I was a little worried that I don't want to suggest that I was leaning into the death penalty or not, but I thought maybe there's a chance here, given that it had taken the jury a day and a half to make a decision, that they might give him life in prison instead. What were your thoughts?
I found out after hearing the penalty phase, they deliberated well into the evening Friday and then took a break, which told me 2 things. One, that they couldn't reach the decision easily, but 2, that if they're coming back, that usually means that they're working toward a decision. Had they been at a point where maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them were absolutely not going to pose the death penalty, they would have simply told the judge that on Friday. So I felt like by virtue of the fact that they did come back Saturday morning to deliberate, that they had told the judge that they were close to a resolution. And in fact, as you said, they came back fairly early Saturday morning before noon. So that deliberation was only a couple of hours.
Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. When they were selecting the jury in the beginning, did they address the death penalty specifically, whether or not the jury would be comfortable passing down that sentence?
Yeah, in a way, and that's a great question. So what happened was when the jury was selected, they were told, Dave, that they had to follow the law, and if they couldn't, they would not serve on the jury. And the law in the state of Idaho, just as it is in Utah and many others, provides that under certain circumstances, an individual who's convicted of first-degree murder can have the death penalty imposed. So, for example, if you had a juror who said, I can't follow that law, I wouldn't impose the death penalty on anyone, then they wouldn't be able to serve on the jury. So it's a question we don't ask jurors in any other kind of criminal case because it doesn't come up. But in the death penalty case, you do have to, we call it death qualify. I know that's kind of a weird phrase, but you death qualify the jury to make sure that if they serve, that they will follow the law if it comes to that. And that's exactly what happened here.
If you missed the news over the weekend, after he was found guilty on multiple counts involving the murders of 3 people in Idaho, including his wife and the 2 children of his then girlfriend, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell was sentenced to death on Saturday. It happened Saturday morning, right around 11:30 in the morning, and it was carried live, right? You know, you got to watch it happen live. And Greg, did you feel like maybe there was one juror or 1 or 2 jurors who were concerned about rendering that death penalty decision?
Oh, yeah, I really did. And if you back up 48 hours from Saturday morning when the judge ordered and told the jury that they were going to move into the penalty phase, I mean, it was very quick. It was almost world record quick. The jury came back. They'd issued their verdict. The judge says, we're going to take a break for an hour and then come back and start the penalty phase. And then the penalty phase was really just Friday for, I don't know, a little more than half a day. I just don't know how a jury can, and I think this is manifest by the fact that they did deliberate for quite a while. There just wasn't a lot of information that came out. And if you recall, Chad actually said that he didn't want to present any what we call mitigation. So there were just like about a half dozen what we call victim impact statements. People got on the stand and said, I'm going to miss Tammy, I'm going to miss JJ, Tylee, whatever. And then they sat down and the prosecutor said that's enough to qualify for the death penalty. But the jury wasn't overwhelmingly in favor of that until, like you say, Saturday morning around 11:30.
Greg, the fact that Chad Daybell decided not to put up any kind of mitigating defense during the sentencing, does that open up a possible appeal later on down the road?
Absolutely. And I think the problem is this, Dave. He has the right not to present mitigation, but the judge has the obligation to go through a very detailed colloquy with him on the record. Is this really what you want to do? Have you considered the options? And ask him a series of questions that I believe is required by the law, and the judge didn't do that. He asked, are you sure you want to do this? Chad said, yeah. And that was basically it. But, was he competent to make that decision at the time? Was there any mitigation that could have been presented, notwithstanding Chad's reluctance to say anything else? You would have expected in a death penalty case that they would have had mitigation experts lined up before the trial even started, let alone wait till the penalty phase starts and say, we're not going to present anything. I think that's a huge problem. I think that this death penalty is in serious jeopardy. I don't think the conviction is. It's probably solid. But I'm very concerned about the way the death penalty was imposed in this case.
Well, I wonder if that couldn't be a strategy as well, where they make such blatant errors or miscalculations so that it opens up a wider door in the appeals process.
Now, that's a good question, but that's absolutely inappropriate for an attorney to do that, or for a prosecutor, a judge, to allow that to occur. It's just, you can't invite error. You can't do that in a case like this. The attorney has to be competent. He has to put on the best case that he can at the time. And if that means a death penalty mitigation hearing with witnesses, and even letting Chad just speak a little bit, maybe have an expert come in to talk about his upbringing and his life before all of this occurred, I think was absolutely necessary. And I'm not sure that the judge protected that right as well as he probably could have.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, thank you so much for joining us and following this so closely, Greg.
Well, we're going to be watching to see if that appeal is filed. I think the odds have it that they'll file some sort of an appeal, don't you, Dave?
Of course, yeah. There's mandatory appeals, and then there's appeals upon appeals, especially when there's these strange little twists, again, not offering mitigation or presenting Chad's side of the story. That will absolutely be something he can appeal as well. And again, we talk about the verdict, guilty. The sentence is death. But this is going to be decades long before it happens, if it ever happens at all. And I think that's one of the problems with the death penalty system right now, is it's prolonged by so many different legal processes that it will be decades and decades. There will be, I'm sure Tammy Daybell's family, people will pass away well before Chad Daybell is ever put to death.
Straight ahead, we've got how many candidates? 5 candidates running for Utah's 3rd congressional seat in the Republican primary. I'm counting this up as I'm looking at the list. 1, 2, 3, 4 running for U.S. Senate for retiring. Is he retiring?
Yeah.
Leaving the Senate, Mitt Romney. And 2 who are on the primary ballot for governor. Remember this?
They're telling us that
too long
the
ago?
caucus convention system has been hijacked
At the
by
Republican
extremists who
convention?
don't represent the real Republicans in our state. And I hope we're not giving them more ammunition today. But look, I am so...
Straight ahead, primary ballots coming to your mailbox soon. Let's go through the massive list of choices that are going to be facing Utah Republicans next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Master Electrical is they do everything. Number one, they do all electrical things, any need you might have. So Master Electrical has this upfront pricing guarantee, Debbie, that I absolutely love.
Yeah, and their system won't even allow an upcharge, which is just so, I mean, that is
refreshing.
So, yeah, I mean, it's peace of mind for you, right? So they come in, they give you the bid on the lights that you want to have redone or the ceiling fans you want installed before it gets too warm this summer. And the price they give you up front is the price they guarantee you when the job is done.
Because I think so many people have been bitten by the bid process where you invite someone to come out, they give you the bid, and then maybe it's a little more complicated or it takes longer. That upfront pricing guarantee guarantees that they're going to stick to that number.
They're always open, and they serve from Logan to Santaquin. So make sure you give Master Electrical a call today. That number is 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Or online at masterelectrical.com.
This joyful sound is the No More Chemo bell at Intermountain Health St. George Hospital. And it means that Sarah Parker beat cancer. It also means her doctor spotted it early enough to treat, and that her oncologist helped her fight it every step of the way. It means that her nurse helped her keep track of medicines, and that a case manager made the whole experience just a little bit easier. Every time we hear that bell, it reminds us that all things are possible when we work together. It reminds us of the power of we. Intermountain Health.
Good morning. I'm the 25% off window company.
25% off?
It's our biggest discount ever.
So what happened to the 40% off you were offering a couple months ago?
Well,
nothing. It's baloney. Hi, this is Kathy.
The Dog of Window World. When you hear those things, you know you've entered the baloney zone.
Resist the force of the baloney zone.
Call today.
281-8111.
Window World. Simply the best for less. And that's no baloney.
After 20 years of music in the mountains, concertgoers from all across our state and beyond have made some amazing memories at Utah Symphony's Deer Valley Music Festival, and we're inviting you to join us again this summer. Don't miss crowd favorites, patriotic pops, Disney in concert, Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture, and the music of John Williams. Pack your picnics, bring your family and friends, and get ready for memorable summer evenings with the Utah Symphony, July 5th through August 9th in Park City. Tickets are on sale now at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org. The Utah Symphony's Deer Valley Music Festival showcases talented vocalists performing your favorite chart-topping songs with the full power of the symphony. You'll wish your recordings at home offered the same orchestration. Don't miss the music of Whitney Houston, the trailblazing music of Joni Mitchell, Carole King, and Carly Simon, Hamilton's Leslie Odom Jr., and Cody Fry, all with the Utah Symphony. July 5th through August 9th in Park City. Tickets are on sale now at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Paid for by Lyman for Utah.
Governor Cox has presided over the worst collapse in housing affordability in Utah's history. Using taxpayer dollars to subsidize large developers is not the answer. If we don't fix this now, our biggest export will become Utahns. As governor, I have a plan to improve supply chains and permitting, to reduce government spending, which drives high inflation and interest rates, and to create a fair property tax system. I'm Phil Lyman, and I'm running for governor.
Phil Lyman for governor.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, now that he's been sentenced to death, years and even decades of appeals are expected in Chad Daybell's case. Second, Simone Biles wound up helping a rival at the National Gymnastics Championships. And third, the water mains have been repaired in Atlanta, but parts of the city still under a boil order. 72 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, soon we'll know.
You booed Warren Hatch, you booed Norman Baker, you even booed the president of the General Relief Society of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 2000.
If the booze at the convention will mean anything whatsoever in the ballot box when it comes time for the Republican primary in a few weeks, Dave.
Yeah, June 25th. It's coming up in a hurry, but you can expect ballots to show up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk in a minute more about what to expect in your mailbox and when the deadlines are. In just a second, but I want to just go over the list that Republicans are going to be faced with. They're going to just so many options, so many choices. In the 3rd Congressional District, to replace current Representative John Curtis, 5 candidates. Five candidates are on the ballot. For Attorney General for the state of Utah, there are 3 candidates on the ballot. For U.S. Senate, which is Senator Romney's seat, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 are on the ballot. In fact, we'll be speaking to former Utah House Speaker Brad Wilson in the 11 o'clock hour about his campaign, and we'll be speaking to the others as well throughout the next couple of weeks leading up to the primary. And then for governor, there's 2. Current state representative Phil Lyman and also incumbent Governor Spencer Cox on the ballot.
And I think what really surprises me, or as I'm focusing in on this, is how many of these are open seats. Like the 3rd Congressional District, open seat. John Curtis is not running again. Attorney General Sean Reyes, not running. Romney, not running. So this is very unique because typically you're just challenging the incumbent, or maybe you have 1 seat. The fact that we have 3 high-profile races that are open, you have a ton of candidates here.
Salt Lake County Clerk Lanny Chapman live on the line. Hi, Lanny.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. Are you running?
No, I am not.
No, okay.
I am getting ready to administer this wonderful election.
Yeah, I didn't think you were a candidate. I just wanted to clarify for our listeners to make sure you were not a candidate.
You're the only one not running, by the way. You're the only one.
All right. So, talk to us about ballots going out tomorrow. Is that the deal? And so they should be getting to mailboxes in the next couple of days, right?
Absolutely. They could hit mailboxes as early as tomorrow. They've already made it to the post office. We're just waiting for midnight to hit so that we can put them in the mail system and get them to our voters.
Is there anything unique about this ballot? I know things change, it seems like, almost on a yearly basis. Is there anything we should be aware of?
Yeah, this is a really interesting election. First and foremost, in Salt Lake County alone, there are 28 different contests. Most of them, of course, being with the Republican nomination process. A couple are nonpartisan. We have a couple local school board seats. But it is very surprising how many candidates turned up and put their name in the ring to become an elected official this year.
Well, I guess I'm trying to see this as a good thing, that a lot of people want to participate in the political process and have managed to make their way onto the ballot, whether that be via convention or via signature gathering. Has signature gathering opened up the opportunity for more candidates, at least from your point of view, Lanny, to land on a primary ballot?
Oh, my goodness, yes. This year alone, we have seen an increase, over 50% more candidates actually returned signatures than we saw 4 years ago. So that is definitely a path to the ballot that we're noticing more and more candidates utilizing.
It's very easy to look at the Republican primaries. That's where everything is so busy and there's so many different candidates. What are we seeing from the Democratic side? Are they is that a much more simplified primary?
We still have a county-wide race. So we have a couple House races for Democrats in Salt Lake County, and then, of course, our county council at-large C. We have a race there as well. So while there are definitely more contests for the Republican nomination ballot, we will still see a county-wide Democratic primary, which is something that we don't typically see.
Lanny, real quickly before we let you go, where can they track their primary ballot like they can their general election ballot? And when's the deadline? When do they have to have it back by?
Absolutely. You can track your ballot the same way as you track any other ballot, ballottracks.org. You can find links from my website or the LG's website. Remember, ballots will hit mailboxes this week. Early voting, if you prefer to in-person vote, that begins June 11th, and it goes during the week through Election Day, June 25th. And then, of course, the last day to register to vote and receive a by-mail ballot is June 18th. Of course, we have same-day registration, so if you don't hit that June 18th mark, you can still go and vote in person.
Lanny Chapman, thank you for joining us, Salt Lake County Clerk.
Not a candidate for any office right now, but like you said, you pointed out correctly, you're like the only one, Lanny. Thank you so much for joining us. I am super curious to find out what the results are after the primary election, particularly for the Republicans, because of what happened at convention.
Maybe it's something much more simple. Maybe you just hate that I don't hate enough.
That's Governor Spencer Cox. He had a rough time. He had a rough go of it at the Republican convention. And in fact, his opponent, Phil Lyman, was the choice of the Republican convention delegates. So Lyman landed on the ballot. Cox gathered enough signatures to get on the ballot as well, so he wasn't in trouble there. But I'm always curious to see how the widespread vote, how they do in the larger picture, Dave, because the delegates can tend to skew much more conservative than the rest of the Republican Party.
I think when I first heard that Spencer Cox was going to be challenged inside of his own party, I was super surprised because he won overwhelmingly back in 2020. He got 63% of the vote. He's a popular governor, as you say, statewide. Mm-hmm. So, but if you are going to challenge, we haven't had a Democratic governor for decades. So the person that wins, whether it's Phil Lyman or Spencer Cox in the primary, is almost guaranteed to win in the general election in November.
We had the same thing, sort of. I mean, maybe a little different happened with the U.S. Senate seat because there was no incumbent in that seat. Mitt Romney, of course, not seeking re-election. But Representative John Curtis served quite a while back in the House, not seeking re-election for his House seat, instead deciding to run for U.S. Senate. He did not get the backing of the delegates. Neither did former House Speaker Brad Wilson, who'll be joining the show in about an hour from now, a little less than an hour from now, nor businessman Jason Walton, although I think out of the day after you said you weren't too familiar with him. We'll be speaking to him in the days to come or the weeks to come as well about his campaign. But it was Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs that got the support. He had a lot of endorsements as well from some pretty staunch Republicans who had come out and not only backed him, just verbally, but also had flown here to show their support for him.
Yeah, you'd had Carrie Lake, who was running for Senate down in Arizona.
Tommy Tuberville.
Remember
we talked to him live on the air?
Yeah. He was gathering up endorsements left and right. Charlie Kirk, a political commentator, a conservative political commentator as well. So he was getting a lot of endorsements as well. But John Curtis is extremely popular as a House district candidate, but as a statewide candidate, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I remember having Senator Tuberville on the line, and he was driving in the car. Remember, and he had that. How do you do that accent? He did that accent. It was cool to have him on the air. Okay, we'll be tracking this very closely. Look for ballots arriving in the mailbox any day now. And then if you miss the deadlines, make sure you podcast us later because you can podcast all of our show on your favorite podcast platform. Straight ahead, this is shocking to me. I mean, grandparents got a parent still, right? Millions of grandparents around the country, including thousands here in Utah, find themselves being mom and dad again. They're not grandma, they're not grandpa, they're mom and dad. Why? Next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. A new temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was dedicated over the weekend. Elder Garrett W. Gong of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles dedicated the new temple in Taylorsville. This is the 192nd temple for the church and one of what will be 30 temples across the state of Utah. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Water's flowing again in Atlanta after a 2-day outage caused by water main breaks across several neighborhoods. One of the 2 major water mains affected has been repaired. Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens.
Repairs are still ongoing and water is no longer gushing in the air. The pipe is being repaired. As we are focused on this area, we are also monitoring our entire infrastructure system to ensure that it is available to everyone.
Much of the city remains under a boil advisory. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 371 points right now. The NASDAQ is down, but just by 27. And our KSL weather, we can see some sprinkles this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
I'm John Curtis. As a small businessman, I built gun ranges to help our law enforcement and our military. As mayor of Provo, I took aim at reducing waste, and we balanced our budget. In Congress, I've stood up to Biden and voted repeatedly against his reckless spending.
And when it comes to standing up to D.C. and protecting our land, John Curtis has done that too. He forced the federal government to transfer more land back to Utah than anyone in state history.
I'll never let D.C. bureaucrats or outsiders tell us how to manage our land.
And John Curtis is the only candidate China has threatened to arrest because John stands up to the communist aggression. And Curtis is fighting to secure our border and stop the cartel's deadly flow of drugs in our country.
I will always stand up for America and Utah. That's why I approve this message.
John Curtis, conservative Republican for U.S. Senate.
I'd be honored to have your support.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
The KSL News Radio movie show comes to My Hearing Centers this Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things are moving along very well all across the Wasatch Front, both on major freeways and the city streets. Right now, we don't have any accidents reported. The earlier ones we had northbound I-15 near downtown Salt Lake are gone, and all those delays cleared out about 20 minutes ago or so. So you're going to have a great commute if you're getting on the roads right now. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife and exciting dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Sponsored by the Utah Office of Tourism. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see some showers this afternoon with a high of 78, partly cloudy 78 tomorrow. Then it heats up with highs in the 90s by Thursday. And right now we're at 73 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Let's talk about grandparents, Dave, who, in my view, deserve a medal. 24,000 kids in Utah have a grandparent who's their primary caregiver. And as of 2021, almost 3 million children across America were being raised by a grandma or grandpa.
That is so incredible. And my brother just watched his granddaughter for the first time, like overnight, over a few days. And I said, "Hey, how do things go, Grandpa?" And he's like, "Parenting is a young man's game." He said, "I'd forgotten how hard it was to get up constantly during the night to help them out, or they had a bad dream." He's like, I had forgotten about all that because so many years had passed. And, he's in his mid-50s. I just think about me as a parent in his mid-40s and the parent I was at 25. When I was 25 years old, Debbie, it was like WWE wrestling bonanza every night. I'm like dropping the atomic elbow and wrestling with the kids. I'm a more chill dad now. Mm-hmm. You add another 10 or 20 years when I'm a grandparent, I don't know how they do it.
You want to get up all night long?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Deal with Mommy, Daddy, I have a fever.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're going to talk about why it's happening. We're also going to take your live phone calls in just a few minutes. Are you willing to parent your grandkids? Because as Dave and I were talking about this story, we found out how unusual. We came down on totally opposite sides of this decision. And I bet you can guess where I landed on this. I bet if you're a longtime listener, if you've been listening to this show for 1 minute, you know where I land on this. But hey, let's talk about a grandmother who's dealing with it. WFAA television interviewed a 61-year-old grandmother. Her name's Raylena. She's a widower. So she loses her husband, and then gains custody of her sons, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 kids.
I actually had to resign my job position because the twins at that age were getting sick a lot, and my daughter was losing work. I would lose work. It was better if I stayed home and my daughter helped financially.
5-year-old twins.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
An 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and 2 5-year-olds. That's a handful.
So demanding. Yeah. And I don't know if we have many resources for grandparents in this way, because financially it is incredibly difficult. It's very expensive to care for kids.
So she told WFAA that there's one thing she's really concerned about, and that is being able to help her grandkiddos with their education.
How am I going to help my grandchildren educationally when the education system has changed? How am I going to get the knowledge I need in order to help them with schooling?
Think about that. Things have changed so much since I went to school. I'm not much younger than she is. I'm 57. Things have changed so much.
You'd love new math now, Deb.
Would I?
You would love it. No, you would not love it. You'd be so frustrated.
Well, even helping my own kids, which I did almost on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
And I read to them every single night like it was our religion.
Yeah.
I mean, like it was a commandment almost. Like, Mom's going to read a book, and I allowed each one of them to pick their own book. Even though my daughters shared a room, I let them pick their own book because I wanted them to feel that, I don't know, that individuality of what they wanted to have read.
Cool.
And my son always, just for the record, my son always picked the biggest book. He would pick a book with 50 pages. I'm like, oh.
Good night, sun, moon, and stars.
And it was the same book. I love it. I love it. I still have all of the books. They were favorites. And then she's also dealing with, the emotional support element of raising her grandkids.
There is no incentive for grandparents to raise their grandchildren. There's no money involved in it. There's nobody standing up and saying, oh my goodness, you are so great. Grandparents do it because they love their grandchildren and don't want them to end up in the foster care system.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key right there. Because we understand as a society that largely grandparents will take the kids. We're not forced into providing resources. Whereas in the foster care, there are financial resources that you can receive. If you foster a few children or a pair of siblings, you get money every month for that to help alleviate some of those concerns. But we don't do that for the grandparent.
How long could you do this? Just throw me a number. Forever?
For how many?
Yeah, how many years do you have in you? Because I think you could go into this thinking it's just temporary until they straighten their life out.
Right.
But there are a lot of reasons why they're doing this. Grandparents are doing this. Their kids are finding themselves in poverty. They're finding themselves in jail. Mom has died during childbirth. Mom and dad get sick. There was quite a few kids who lost both parents during COVID. Think about that when the pandemic hit. Single parents just can't cope and deal with all of it. And so grandma and grandpa step in and they actually take the kids in on a more permanent basis. Military deployments. So what is your number, Dave? Is it 5 months?
No, it's
5 years?
Forever. Like if that is, if I'm the last line of defense, or what do? Of course you do. You have to watch your kids.
41% of grandparents, 60 to 69 years old, who have taken their grandchildren in, have had custody of them for 5 years or more.
Wow.
It's all in.
That is all in. That's your life. You're parenting all over again.
So you've raised your kids. You've worked hard. You've finally made it to you're getting, into retirement years where things are going to slow down. And your 5-year-old grandson knocks on your door and says, Grandpa, I need, and by the way, the other children, my siblings are in the car, and we're all going to move in with you now. How do you do?
And that happened. And you had some numbers. How many in Utah?
24,000 children in Utah.
So you've got 24,000 kids that, as you were describing that, that is an astounding number.
Yeah, but what do you do?
Well, I think you have to. Right? I mean, you're the grandparent. Where else do you go?
You can't afford to. You cannot afford to raise your 4 beautiful grandchildren. I'm sorry to tell you, you are now retired. You're on a fixed income.
Yeah.
You're just
there's no support.
You get no
financial support.
You get no monthly benefit from the state. You would have to go with the foster care system. That's my point of view.
Yeah. No, you make a very fair point, because I think that the question I'm asking is, why don't they receive support? If for example, these kids are not to be trusted with a parent, or perhaps they're orphans and they've lost their parents, what kind of support do we have out there? Obviously, with foster kids, if they were to go into the foster care system and someone were to foster those children, they would receive monthly stipends. Why in the world do we not have that? We've got to have that, right?
No.
Raylina, this parent says
that's not the government's problem.
It totally is.
No, it's not. It's your problem. They're shut up at your door.
Yeah.
See, I would say no.
But protecting children.
I would say no.
You would say no.
I could not do it.
You couldn't do it.
I couldn't.
You don't think you have the bandwidth?
I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the same level of energy that I had. When I was raising kids, I was in my 30s, working a full-time job, full-time wife, full-time mom, full-time lawnmower.
Do you trust the foster care system?
I would have to. I would want a relationship with my grandkids, no question. I mean, if they could spend the nights at grandma's house as often as possible, if I could pick them up after school, if I could be there to help wherever I could.
You're not just washing your hands of the situation. You're saying, let them be cared for by a foster family.
Yes.
I will remain their support.
I would be all in on supporting them in foster care. Does that make me an animal? Does that make me horrible? Does that make me a bad grandma?
Debbie, I've got a couple of neighbors that foster kids and they've adopted them over the years, and they're a phenomenal family. They give those children love and resources, and they have my initial reaction was like, no, I would never do that. But now that I think, wow, I've seen the foster family do an amazing job with kids. And if you could, as a grandparent, still be that support, maybe that is the best path forward for the children. I just assumed, like, of course you would take them as a grandparent, like, no question.
I know you would think that. I knew you would think that.
Yeah.
801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. I would say no. Does that make me a monster? I would say no. But I would be there to love them and spoil them and do all the grandparent things. I just could not have all of my grandkids living in my home and me being financially and emotionally responsible for all the things that go into raising kids. 801-575-TALK. Robin, you're already on the line. I love it. Robin from Highland, do me a favor, please hold the line. We want to talk to you about what is going on. It looks like you are raising your grandkids. You're raising your grandkid. Okay, we want to talk to you next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Join KSL, Tim and Amanda this Friday from 3 to 5 at the Salt Lake NPS store at 1600 Empire Road, npsstore.com.
Curious about stem cells? Stem cell therapy is revolutionizing the medical industry. Tony Robbins, Joe Rogan, and Mel Gibson are all talking about the benefits, helping to repair damaged tissues, reduce inflammation, and improve recovery times for a variety of conditions, including chronic pain, injuries, hair loss, and skin care. It provides a promising alternative to traditional surgical procedures. Stem cell therapy may be the treatment for you. Join David Costellar, founder of Regenerative Research Group, for an evening of education on stem cell therapy, the features and benefits, this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehigh. Tickets are $20 at the door, or register for free at eventbrite.com and search stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. Join David for an evening of education on stem cells. Register for free admission, eventbrite.com stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. This Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehigh.
With big tech coming after our kids,
the inflow of illegal drugs coming to our state.
For Attorney General, we need someone we can trust to do the right thing for the right reason.
That's Derek Brown.
Derek fought to protect kids on social media.
He'll defend the Second Amendment.
Stand up to Biden when he tries to take our lands.
Derek Brown will fight to secure the border.
And that's the kind of leadership we really need.
We trust Derek Brown for Attorney General.
I'm supporting Derek Brown.
Paid for by Derek Brown for Attorney General.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow pleather pajamas, and I'm just not sure I'm pulling them off.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, now that he's been sentenced to death, years and even decades of appeals are expected in Chad Daybell's case. Second, Simone Biles wound up helping a rival at the National Gymnastics Championships. And third, the water mains have been repaired in Atlanta, but parts of the city still under a boil order. 72 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We're talking about grandparents who are raising their grandkids, and the statistic that just blows my mind that grandparents who are in their 60s, 60 to 69 years old, Dave, have their grandkids living with them, when they do live with them, for 5 years or more. That's a commitment.
Yeah, it is. And I want to know what kind of resources are out there and what we can do, because that is burdensome, and I'm concerned about it. Let's take some phone calls, 801-575-TOP. We're loaded up. Let's start off with Robin in Highland. Robin, what's going on?
I'm here.
All right.
I adopted my granddaughter. We had her placed with us from foster care when she was about 5 months old, and then just kept her and then adopted her.
And
so it's hard.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Luckily, I'm financially able to have a nanny, because just getting up and down off the floor a million times a day,
yeah,
it's exhausting when you're 57 years old.
Oh, how old are you?
57.
Okay. And how's the how are the finances then? Is it a lot more expensive than when you were raising your kids?
A lot more, especially because I work from home. My husband works, and so we have the nanny. Having a nanny is a lot more expensive than child care, but it makes us still more comfortable doing it that way. When she was in foster care, they would do a kinship stipend. It was, I want to say $75 a month or something like that.
Oh.
And then when we adopted her, then we don't get anything.
You don't get anything. Well, you get lots of loves. You get lots of loves.
We don't plan on retiring at a normal age, because we'll be 71 when she graduates high school.
My goodness,
Well, Robin, thank you so much for sharing your story. And so there's a little kinship stipend, it sounds like.
A couple bucks a week.
Wow.
Terry from Utah County. Terry,
Hello.
are you there? Hi.
I'm just getting off of my... Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Terry. Terry, come in. Okay, so do you have a grandchild you've adopted?
No, I'm a school counselor, and right before I heard this radio broadcast, I finished meeting with a grandfather and his granddaughter who is just entering 10th grade. And he's in his early 70s, and I know his older granddaughter, who will be a senior next year, he and his wife are guardians over both of these grandchildren because their parents are divorced. The father was abusive to the mother and the children, but the mother had to give up custody in order to not share custody with her ex. So she lives very close to them, but these grandparents handle everything and all the finances and support these two grandchildren.
Well, that's a lot, and we hope they're doing well. Terry, thanks so much. It just goes to show you that a lot of grandparents are doing everything they can to step in. Tim from Murray, your daughter passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm just looking at the note from our producer, Caitlin, and you've adopted her two kids.
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
When my daughter died, we adopted those two boys. And you think you don't have enough money to raise kids, you're passing up one of the greatest opportunities you could ever have of sitting and raising those kids. We adopted them. We raised them. They're now 21 and 19. And it's wonderful.
That's awesome.
One's on a mission, one's living with us, and they have a little daughter, which is my great-granddaughter. I've never pass up that opportunity ever. Because if you don't think, when we got married, we didn't think we had enough money, but we still raised 7 kids. The thing is, you find a way, and you love those kids because that's what those kids need.
Well, Tim, thank you so much. That's a beautiful story.
That is, it was powerful. And Tim, thank you so much for joining us. And I think that's where my default is. I would think, of course, I would take them. But Debbie, you brought up some valid concerns. Do you have the time, the money, the energy, the patience, the health? You know, so often grandparents have failing health or deteriorating health. So, Don in Layton, what do you think, Don?
Hello, my friends. Hey, I've got tears in my eyes listening to that last guy, Tim.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That was powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
it is,
what do you know about this? Do you have a family member raising kids?
Yeah, I watched my parents do it for 2 times around, and my sister was completely incompetent at being a mother, and they basically raised her children. They spent 51 years of their life, because the last child of hers came 10 years after the other 2. And they spent 51 years of their 60 married years of life taking care of children. They never got the chance to just jump on a plane together and go to Paris and do all those romantic things that semi-retired people do, But the thing that I wanted to share was that, I agree with you in a lot of ways, Debbie. But family's family, and this is hands down, and you cannot disagree with this. We are the richest country on the planet.
I
and
agree.
even though these children may not be raised with everything that we want to do as a parent or as a grandparent, be able to give them, you may have to say no. They're still being raised in the greatest country on this planet. Their level, I don't know how you put their lifestyle there, they're not being raised in the slums.
Don, what I'm learning from this is there are much better people out there than me. I mean, there just are. I know we are the richest country in the world. I would agree with that. There are always, it seems, especially these days, always new avenues to make to make more money. There's so much that goes into raising kids beyond money. It requires that you have stamina around the clock, that you be ready to pick up the ball and run with it anytime somebody else drops it, that you're there for pickup, that you're there for drop-off, that you're there to help them with homework, and that you're there when they're running a fever to get them to the emergency room in the middle of the night. These are all of the things that I recognize from raising kids myself, as all parents do. Dave, you've been through it as well. The question I have is, would I have the stamina? I don't have grandkids. I don't have grandkids on the horizon. So it's very conceivable, no pun intended, that I would be raising my grandkids well into my mid-70s if this were to happen. Do I have the stamina by then? Probably not.
I think the question we really need to be asking ourselves is, what is best for the child? Because if you talk to any adoptive parents, I mean, in the way they care and they love for a child, and they have the energy and the will and the excitement, and they're looking at that family, that's incredible. Like, what? Just because your family does not automatically mean you are the best qualified to care for those children. Otherwise, we wouldn't have an adoption service and have so many wonderful stories about adoptive parents. So every case is different. I understand that. I just don't want to write that off as an impossibility, that maybe a foster system or an adoptive parent is the best thing for the child.
Next, Mexico has made history electing their first female president. It came down to 2 females who were running for the highest office in Mexico. And we're going to ask Boyd Matheson straight ahead what impact this will have on the United States.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, a 2-story state-run liquor store opening today in downtown Salt Lake City. Michelle Schmidt with the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Services says this will be great for tourists, but also for local hospitality businesses.
We also serve those business owners, those restaurants, those bars, and other hospitality businesses. They rely on the DABS for those products that they then sell in their establishments.
The new store at Broadway and Edison will replace the old state-run liquor store near Pioneer Park. Schmidt says this will hopefully generate a lot more money. That means more will also be given back to the state and local governments to be used for public services. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Firefighters outside San Francisco have made progress on a 14,000-acre wildfire that had people evacuating on Saturday night. Fire's 75% contained at this point. Evacuation orders have been lifted. Interstate 580 open again. The first heat wave of the summer arriving in California this week, with temperatures expected to top 100 degrees. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down right now, 395 points. The NASDAQ is down 47. And our KSL weather looks like we'll get some showers this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
The IRS deadline has come and gone. So do you owe money to the IRS? If so, you need an ally. Whether you owe the IRS $6,000 or $600,000, whether your tax problems are personal or business, the professionals at Allies Tax Relief are ready to step in and negotiate your fresh start with the IRS. Here's a happy customer of Allies Tax Relief.
Before calling Allies Tax Relief, I feared the IRS would take all of my assets. I owed them over $562,000. Thankfully, I was referred to Allies and called them for help. They ultimately saved my life from uncertainty. Allies negotiated my giant tax debt to an unbelievable $1,500. They are professionals, and they fight the fight for their clients.
Allies Tax Relief will protect your assets from being seized and your paycheck from being garnished. Call right now for your free consultation. 800-296-0772. That's 800-296-0772. Or visit AlliesTaxRelief.com.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Debbie Myler, wife of Attorney General candidate Frank Myler. Several years ago, Frank and I formed Beauty from Ashes, a nonprofit that helps bring gospel solutions to those in abusive marriages. We use the courts to protect the most vulnerable. We have to have an Attorney General like Frank who cares about and works to provide the legal help people need. Vote Frank Myler for Utah Attorney General.
This is Frank Myler, and I approve this ad. Paid for by the committee to elect Frank Myler Attorney General.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon Here's Ricky Meese.
The one accident we had southbound I-15 prior to 4500 south on the left has already been cleared. We are back to a delay-free drive on all your Valley freeways, but fire crews are en route to a commercial fire. Watch for them. They may need to have access to the street 4200 west, 700 south. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see some showers this afternoon with a high of 78, partly cloudy 78 tomorrow. Then it heats up with highs in the 90s by Thursday. Right now, 73 degrees, mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Well, we knew there was going to be a female president elected in Mexico because it came down to two choices, both of them female candidates. And Claudia Sheinbaum announcing overnight that her competitor has conceded. She will be the country's very first female president. This is a historic moment.
And impressive when you look at the number of votes she got. I mean, 58% of the vote. That doesn't happen here in America. If someone got 58% as president, holy cow, your name would have to be George Washington, I think. He'd probably get 57. But Boyd Matheson joins us right now. This is really historic for a number of reasons in Mexico.
Yeah, no question about it. It's a big election there. Women in Mexico just got the vote 70 years ago. So interesting. I know we're talking a lot about Martha Hughes Cannon and all of that, but it's only been 70 years in Mexico since women have been allowed to vote. So it is historic in that sense. It's also historic in terms of what it will do in terms of extending the current President Obrador's, his principles and philosophies, many of which are a little authoritarian. And that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch between now and October 1st when she takes office. And there's actually a little window. The two houses, the two chambers there, actually get seated before the new president takes office. And so there are some opportunities because the win was so big, to your point, David, that they will actually have an opportunity to push through some of these reforms around the judiciary, eliminate a lot of the checks and balances. There's a whole host of very populist things that President Obrador has not been able to get through the Congress there in Mexico, but likely will in his last few weeks in office.
I think a lot of Americans immediately think, okay, what will she do for border security? I want to listen to ABC News' Matt Rivers report, and then let's talk about this.
The number one foreign policy issue is always the United States. How much Mexico decides to enforce its own immigration law, how many people they deport every single day, has a huge impact on the numbers of people arriving north, and Mexico knows that.
Boyd, your thoughts on border security under this new president?
Yeah, it would be very interesting. And obviously the dynamics will shift depending on whether we have President Biden for 4 more years or former President Trump is in office. That will have a huge impact in terms of how that relationship goes. The thing that I'm going to be watching most for from President Sheinbaum will be not so much her influence in terms of negotiating with the U.S., but what she negotiates with the other Latin American countries in terms of people moving through Mexico. Obviously, that's kind of the gateway. And so I think that's where her influence, her big opportunity is going to be. If she can work with other Latin American countries to kind of stem that tide a little bit, then she could be a game changer as it relates to that. The other big problem is you've got over 200 organized crime gangs in Mexico. And just an interesting thing when we talk about liberty and the right to vote, since September, when this election cycle began in Mexico, there have been over 200 candidates killed in Mexico. There is a big cost. There is a big price for being an elected official in Mexico. And so it's an interesting thing to see what you end up with and then what the government does as a result of that.
So she's viewed as an extension of Obrador's, the previous president's policies. So one of the things that Obrador has been very successful with is lifting a huge portion of Mexico out of poverty. He's been good for jobs. The minimum wage has doubled. There's been some big wins that way. But he has always struggled with his relationship with the cartels and organized crime. What is she going to be able to do differently, or how do they address the cartels differently.
So this is the big conundrum in Mexico. So Obrador did a whole slew of populist, a lot of state-run things, a lot of handouts, a lot of social safety net issues that made people feel a whole lot better about the fact that they're living amongst really gang-controlled cities in so many of those. And so the balance point of that is going to be the very tricky thing for Sheinbaum to be able to navigate. Is how do you maintain your popularity? That's how you get 58%. You give a whole lot of stuff away.
Yeah.
That's the first trick. But then the governing part becomes very difficult because taking on the gangs and the crime and the flow of fentanyl and all of those things, which the U.S. is clearly concerned about, you take those things head on and the game changes very fast when, again, you've got over 200 organized crime gangs functioning, and not just existing, functioning, moving drugs in and out of the country, moving people, human trafficking in and out of the United States. Those are big issues. She has her work cut out for her. She's an interesting dichotomy to me because she's very pragmatic in a lot of ways. She did some things in Mexico City that reduced crime and were very positive there. And she's also really an ideologue in terms of the kind of that populist movement and consolidating power. I thought it was so fascinating in her victory speech last night. She had to say it several times. I will not be an authoritarian. If you have to declare it, something's up. And so if you look at all of the things, they're literally trying to get rid of the Supreme Court there and make it an elected position. What could possibly go wrong in that space? And then there's a host of other things that would eliminate regulatory agencies that would consolidate all of those. There's a few other things. Another one that was a red flag for me, they're getting rid of the currently autonomous election agency that ensures free and fair elections. They're immediately going to get rid of that under some of the proposals from the new president of Mexico.
What's the significance? Because I think this is a big deal. It's a historical moment for Mexico and for the world to have a female elected, and the two top candidates were females. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just think that's a good move and a good trend. I think around the world
It's still struggle here in the United States though, getting women to run for elected
and
office.
that's the bigger issue. And I'm so glad you raised that, Deb, because we're talking a lot Martha Hughes Cannon. We're kind of going down that path, and here's the issue: when women run, women win. Like their percentage of winning, particularly here in the state of Utah, when they do run, they do well. And so some of it's getting over that barrier of, it's not going to work, or I don't want to do this, or all of the, and there's plenty of negative to go around in that front for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But the message we should be sending to our women is you run, you win, and then you can lead because we need your voice. And we need all voices. We need people to have a seat at the table, to have a voice at the table, because then we can really get to just the real question: who's the best person to lead the country? Not based on geography, ethnicity, religious affiliation, gender, sexual orientation. Who's the best person to lead? And we can get to a much better conversation.
Well, you do bring up religious affiliation. That's one of the things that stood out to me in a predominantly Catholic country. Very, very Catholic. She's Jewish.
Yeah, and so it's such an interesting part of her story. I believe it was her grandparents who fled Eastern Europe during World War II and went to Mexico, and so she's a naturally born citizen there. But that's such an interesting thing to have a Jewish head of state at the head of a very Catholic country. So it'll be very interesting to see how she navigates that in terms of her rule.
And she takes over
October 1st. So again, the lower house and the upper house will be seated about a month before that, and her party routed everyone else. They will have basically they don't need to cooperate with anybody. They have basically a full-on majority, bulletproof. So that's where some of these bigger changes on the checks and balances. I think here's what I think we should watch. I think what will happen, the new Congress will get seated in Mexico. And they will immediately start to vote on some of these constitutional changes from President Obrador as kind of his lasting legacy. And then that will give President Sheinbaum, starting on October 1st, to have all the changes she wants, but without any of the baggage, and get a clean slate to begin governing.
Is Trump the worst case scenario for her?
Causes her a lot of headaches, a lot of challenges to navigate if the former president becomes the president.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. Inside Sources today starts at 1.
Which leads us nice into our next discussion. Thank you so much, Boyd, for teeing us up. We're going to speak with former Utah House Speaker Brad Wilson, running for Senate, about a couple of things. First of all, it is former President Trump's bid, even though he's now been convicted, to stay in the game, and also former head or former face of the COVID-19 pandemic for the United States, Dr. Anthony Fauci, in the hot seat this morning.
Americans were aggressively bullied, shamed, and silenced for merely questioning or debating issues such as social distancing, masks, vaccines, or the origins of COVID.
Those are just two of the top issues we're going to talk to Brad Wilson about straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Hey, folks, let me tell you, I've been with Salt Lake City Fat Loss for the last several months, and I have loved losing weight with these guys because they walked me through, because I've been trying for years, like the rest of you, right? We've all tried many, many times to lose some weight, but it wasn't until I joined a program and paid for it. I paid for it just like you guys do, the exact same price and everything. So I had to make a decision. Is it worth the investment? And I looked at it and I said, you know what? This is a financial investment in my health. And I lost 57 pounds in 60 days, and I feel great. I've been able to keep it off. And I'm moving better on the pickleball court. That's a huge win for me. But more importantly, I did it safely. I did it in a healthy way. No injections, no surgery. The results kept me motivated. So if you're interested, go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to their website, slcfatloss.com. Very easy to remember, slcfatloss.com, to schedule that free consultation. You'll get $200 off if you use my name, Dave.
All of your favorite KSL hosts in the palm of your hand.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, it's so early.
They're on your phone.
Great vacation photos. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was fun.
Courtesy of the KSL News Radio app.
That's a family-friendly movie. I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, then. Buy tickets.
When you can't listen live,
Can we talk about something?
Can I wait just a little bit? I got a meeting.
Okay, cool. We'll be here.
listen on the app. The app for KSL News Radio.
Everyone's house is different, but they're all the same in one way. We've all got those places where the Wi-Fi just won't go. For you, maybe it's the attic. For me, it's my basement. Well, if you had wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you could worry less about these dead spots. Finally. With wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you get fast speeds throughout your home, reliable connection in every room, and power for all of your devices, even when everyone is online. That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through June 21st, new customers can get started with gig speed internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. Go to Xfinity.com. Call 1-800-XFINITY. That's 1-800-XFINITY. Or visit a store today.
Hi, I'm Rachel Terry, and I'm running for Attorney General. It's not difficult to tell what a person values. All you have to do is look at their record. As your next Attorney General, I promise to value the rule of law, just like I've done as a practicing attorney for the last 20 years. I promise to value transparent leadership. I promise to value the work of the Attorney General's office, just as I've done for other Utah agencies over the past decade. My record speaks for itself. I won't let you down. Vote Rachel Terry for Attorney General.
Paid for by Rachel for Utah.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Small business owners, we know tackling your to-do list can sometimes feel like going 12 rounds against a heavyweight champ. Except that heavyweight's gloves are made of something hard, like diamonds. So when a new to-do pops up, you're like, I can't. I'm boxing my diamond boxing glove-wearing heavyweight champ of a to-do list. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy with over 30 customizable coverage options, so you can finally land a knockout blow. See if you can save on business insurance in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. N76, visit staples.com/print for details.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah has a new 2-story liquor store in downtown Salt Lake. Second, firefighters are making progress on a big wildfire in the Bay Area. Third, Dr. Anthony Fauci was in the hot seat at a congressional hearing and denied being part of any cover-ups or conspiracies during the COVID pandemic. 73 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
You just heard Dan Bomas from the newsroom mention the Fauci hearing. Is it still going on? I'm looking in our control. Can we listen in for just a second?
That the accusations were false.
Testifying back in Washington, D.C.
They still accused him on a cover-up, suppressing the truth, that he initiated, prompted, or edited the Proximal Origins paper, that he funded a gain of research that created the SARS-CoV-2 virus, even that he received royalties. You know, his answers today and his transcribed interviews and his countless emails refuted all of this.
Dr. Anthony Fauci has been testifying since 8 o'clock this morning.
And so much focus has been on the origins of COVID, and I don't understand that line of questioning, like whether it came from a bat in a wet market or it leaked out of a lab. I want to know, what did we learn? We closed churches, work, restaurants. We had to be 6 feet apart. We were closing schools. I mean, there's so many things that we can address. We're singularly focused on this origin story, and I want to know, what did we learn? What did we do right, and what did we do wrong?
More than 1 million people died. More than 5,000 Utahns passed away, and that, I think it's a great question. I remember we all pushing our grocery carts in the same direction. There were one-way aisles at the grocery store. Candidate for U.S. Senate Brad Wilson live on the line. Did Utah do anything wrong, or did we do everything right during COVID? Brad?
Good morning to the two of you. You know, it was a very difficult time. We all lost loved ones, or not all of us, but many of us did, including I lost a brother-in-law to COVID. Sorry. And it was a hard thing for many of us. But here's what I think we learned. I think we learned that government is not going to be the solution to all of these problems. That people got to take personal responsibility for themselves. And at times, government can try to solve problems that it shouldn't be trying to solve. And we were fortunate in Utah. The Wall Street Journal ran an article a couple of years ago that said of all 50 states in the country, no state managed the health and the economy overall better than the state of Utah did. With that being said, I think we learned some things too, and I think we would do some things a little bit differently, but we didn't have statewide vaccine mandates. We didn't have statewide mask mandates. We tried to do the one principle, the one thing that I tried to do every day when I was Speaker of the House, and I know the governor tried to do this, I know that the Senate President tried to do this, is we tried to get good information out to people so they could make the best decisions they could for themselves. And the other thing we tried to do is we tried to get our economy open up as quickly as possible with some precautions, but we let people choose what they thought made the most sense. And we tried to get our kids back in school. And we know we lost so much for our kids during that period of time because they were out of school. And there's an echo that's going to happen, I think, with these youth for a generation because of the time they lost in their education.
I look back and almost hesitantly look back because it was so traumatizing in so many ways. But, the mask mandates, and Debbie described, and I had totally forgotten about this, where we were going down the aisles in a store and they had direction arrows of where we went. I thought we tried to micromanage so many things, being 6 feet apart, and you can gather for protests, but you can't for church. I mean, there was just so many things that happened. Do you look back and kind of bristle at some of the things that we let happen?
Yeah, but a lot of those things that happened weren't governments doing. We specifically, as a legislature, went into special session and we made sure that government couldn't shut down churches. That we did things to get the economy opened up, but it didn't mean that businesses didn't choose to do things on their own.
Right.
And we, that's the way the world works. That's the way the economy works. But I think also that what we all probably need to remember is to give each other a lot of grace through these difficult times, because people had different opinions about this, and we seem to lack a lot of tolerance for people's opinions, whether they were concerned and wanted people masked up and wanted vaccines, or were the opposite of that. We I think had an opportunity to be a little bit more patient and understanding with each other, and hopefully that's one of the lessons that came out of all of this.
Former Utah House Speaker Brad Wilson, and current candidate for U.S. Senate, live on the line. It was just days ago that former President Trump heard the jury verdict that he was guilty on all 34 counts that he faced at trial over the last several weeks in New York.
So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer.
And shortly after the verdict was read, you released a statement, Brad, that said the verdict today makes a mockery of our criminal justice system. This trial has been a sham orchestrated for one reason. Democrats know that Joe Biden is losing. You think our criminal justice system is a sham?
Not the system in its entirety, but there are instances and times when, in fact, I do think that's happened. You had federal and state courts in many places choose to not pursue different criminal charges against the president, but yet you have a district attorney, an attorney general in New York who ran on a platform of prosecuting Donald Trump. And we saw that happen. It does make a mockery when we politicize the criminal justice system, which is what I believe happened in this particular case. And it's an election year. Emotions are high. People are, very passionate about their candidates. But we can't let there be a two-tier justice system in this country where we have one set of standards for one group of people and another for another. And I think that's what's happened here. So I do hope that we get the sentencing over with quickly, and that, of course, President Trump doesn't serve jail time. I don't think he will. And we can move on. We've got an election to resolve this year, and it's an important election for our country.
How do you feel about the Hunter Biden trial that starts today regarding a gun charge? Some have claimed that is politically motivated just from the other side.
Well, I think there's some important issues that need to be resolved. There's a lot of questions. I mean, this case is being prosecuted under a Democratic administration, and so I think it would be a little difficult to argue the same thing is happening here in the same way, at least. And there's a lot of questions about Hunter Biden and his past and things that he's done, and I think we need to shine a bright light on it, see what happens, and let the process be the process. And hopefully it gets resolved quickly as well. There are important policy discussions that we should be having as Americans about the future of our country, about the future of government. And when we have all of these criminal cases going on, it makes it hard to focus on what really is going to change the trajectory of the United States of America. We're $35 trillion in debt, for crying out loud. That's the stuff we should be talking about.
I was going to ask you, what is that policy discussion that you think we're missing?
Yeah, well, I'd lead out with what I just said. I mean, I've got 3 kids. They're all launching. They're all in their early 20s. their share of the national debt is $100,000, Deb. When you and I were launching our careers, we didn't have that albatross around our necks. It's a real problem, and the spending in Washington, D.C. is out of control. And if we want to get spending under control in D.C., we need to send different people to D.C., for crying out loud.
Brad Wilson, thank you for joining us. Candidate for U.S. Senate. Looks like the Republican primary comes up here on June 25th. That's the last day. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Always fun to talk to you. Straight ahead, the Salt Lake City Council calling in because we're going to speak to them about the construction in Sugar House. We spoke earlier this morning to a business owner there.
The construction has very much impacted us, where the roads were closed one way and people, really were having a hard time getting to us.
Well, the aha moment for me was when a business owner who called the show said how much she's lost in profits because of the construction zone around her and other businesses in the area. So I'll tell you how much that is next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. Ballots for this year's primary elections will start going out in the mail tomorrow, and all registered Utah voters are supposed to get a ballot in the mail. Now, election officials say if you don't win one shortly after June 18th, contact your county clerk's office. Election day for the primary is June 25th. Make sure your ballot is either postmarked by the 24th or that it's in the drop box before the polls close on Election Day. Real Salt Lake is still on a roll, beating the Austin FC at home Saturday 5-1, powered by a hat trick from Chico Arango. RSL has either tied or won 13 straight games in Major League Soccer play. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Dr. Anthony Fauci returned to Capitol Hill today to face questions from members of the House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. Republicans grilled Fauci, but they presented no evidence that tied him to cover-ups or conspiracies. He said the threats he's received due to the allegations require him to have round-the-clock protective services.
Everything from harassments by emails, texts, letters of myself, my wife, my 3 daughters.
Fauci served as President Biden's chief medical advisor and spent almost 50 years working in public health. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 324 points, and the NASDAQ is just barely down right now. And our KSL weather looks like a bit of a shower this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright with yet another great experiment you can try right there at home. I want you to take 4 bags of water softener salt. Lift 3 of the bags with one hand, good luck on that, and 1 bag with your other hand. Now, if you're like most people, you'll probably find that 3 bags of salt weigh about 3 times as much as 1 bag of salt. And that's an important thing to keep in mind when you're shopping for a water softener. You see, Kinetico of Utah, an authorized Kinetico dealer, their water softeners are so well designed, they use only 1 bag of salt for every 3 that other water softeners use. Now, I can't speak for you, but I'm not a fan of lower back pain, and as our little experiment has hopefully demonstrated, carrying that 1 bag of salt, it's a lot easier on your back than carrying 3. That's just one of the many reasons you should look into water softeners from Kinetico of Utah, an authorized Kinetico dealer. To learn more, call Kinetico of Utah, 801-576-8600, or go to softwaterutah.com.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
With big tech coming after our kids,
the inflow of illegal drugs coming to our state,
for Attorney General. We need someone we can trust to do the right thing for the right reason.
That's Derek Brown.
Derek fought to protect kids on social media.
He'll defend the Second Amendment.
Stand up to Biden when he tries to take our lands.
Derek Brown will fight to secure the border.
And that's the kind of leadership we really need.
We trust Derek Brown for Attorney General.
I'm supporting Derek Brown.
Paid for by Derek Brown for Attorney General.
You know, in Box Elder County, they're all about the bucket list. Want to go birding at the premier birding destination in the western United States? Well, check off the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. How about land art? The spiral jetty and sun tunnels will leave you inspired. Or stand on the spot where the Union and Central Pacific Railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation. Yep, Golden Spike National Historical Park is like no other place. Check. Splash, boat, camp, or fish your day away? Willard Bay State Park will guarantee a good time. Soak in a natural hot spring with the highest mineral content in the world? That would be Crystal Hot Springs. You'll feel rejuvenated. Eat at Utah's original steakhouse. Maddox Ranch House is perfection. Check. A 1920s diner. The Idle Owl Cafe will transport you back in time. As you empty your Box Elder County bucket list, you'll find a whole new set of adventures to fill it up again. Fill up your bucket list at visitboxeldercounty.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Crash free on our freeways and main secondaries. Construction causing a slightly reduced speed northbound I-15, leaving Clearfield and going through Roy. With IFA's spring and summer lawn food, you'll grow healthy turf that stays green all summer long. It's the ultimate lawn owner power move. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see some showers this afternoon with a high of 78. Partly cloudy 78 tomorrow. Then it heats up with highs in the 90s by Thursday. And right now, 73 degrees, mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Just from sitting in a construction zone, Dave, whether it's on 3rd West or in Sugar House, which has had lots of construction going on, I know my frustration is certainly high. I can't imagine what business owners are going through. They got to be losing business, right? I mean, it looks like there's nobody there because they can't park, they can't get there. We talked to a business owner in Sugar House. Sarah Snow owns a Pibbs Exchange. I didn't realize how bad profits had dropped for some businesses in that area.
The variation over the last few years, around 30%, it's been really significant for us.
And I can't say that I'm surprised because I don't go to places. If there's construction in the area, I will avoid it. So I know that hurts their business, but I don't know what parking's going to look like. I don't know the accessibility of it. I don't want to have to figure it out. I'll just drive down a block or two and go somewhere else.
It's been going on for quite a while. We're going to talk to the city in just a moment to figure out, where things are at. But I read in the Salt Lake Tribune, it's going to be going on until the fall of 2025. And when we had the owner of Pibbs Exchange, which, by the way, they specialize in vintage and new clothing and exchange, it sounds like an amazing place. I want to stop by it soon. We asked her, what is one thing that you need from the city? What's the one thing you would want us to ask the city about? And here's what she said.
I would love to see any sort of contribution financially or some sort of grant. I know there's the construction mitigation grant that we've been able to apply for and get, it's a $3,000 to help go towards our marketing. But, communication obviously is the key. A little bit more improved communication as well as any direction on help financially.
Joining us right now from the Salt Lake City Council, Sarah Young. And thank you so much for joining us because I think she asks a very good question. Obviously, construction comes in so many different ways, whether it's renovations, expansions, infrastructure. What is being done to help these businesses?
Yeah, it's a great question. And thanks for highlighting Sugar House explicitly. We're really trying to not just support those businesses, but also encourage people to still frequent the businesses that you love down there. So as far as city action, she highlighted that we do offer the construction mitigation loans. Those are available to our local businesses to be able to provide some cash flow related to helping them through these difficult times. In addition to that, we are also working with our economic development team in Salt Lake City to be able to host events in Sugar House that really bring folks down there despite the construction. And we had one recently where we highlighted a couple of small businesses, including Mochi's Donuts and Hopkins Brewery, to be able to bring folks into the area. Last but not least, we're working really hard with the local community council and the Sugar House Chamber to be supporters of upcoming events, including Sugar House Pride, which is happening on June 28th through the 30th, hosted at the Locker Room. It's another great opportunity to really bring people down there. I know the construction can be challenging, but these businesses are worth it. And if we can just support them through this upcoming really intensive construction period, it'll be for the benefit of everyone.
We're talking to Salt Lake City Council member Sarah Young right now about the construction zone that has set up shop in the Sugar House area. And we're looking at 21st South, about 1100 East, and it's been going on for quite some time. How much longer are they going to have to endure this road construction? I know it's also like sewer lines and water lines. So there's a trifecta of different construction events going on there.
Yeah, so the city is trying to do it all at one time, which I know has its challenges, but it also has its benefits in terms of it. So I have good news. The fact that the city is wrapping up the majority of the construction between 11th East and 13th East on 2100 South on the north side of the street. That wrap-up is happening mid-June, including landscaping going in until the end of July. They'll be shifting to the south side of the street, which means we're on schedule in terms of being able to wrap up the majority of that construction in that particular area by the end of this fall. And then we'll look further down 2100 South into the area between 11th East and 700 East for future efforts into 2025. So we're making good progress. It's just going to be one of those pieces where it's a lot of road, it's a lot of sewer lines, it's a lot of water, fiber, a lot of other pieces, and we need to get all of those taken care of so that our businesses and our residents aren't negatively impacted.
The first I had heard about this construction mitigation grant was just earlier in the show. How much money is it, and is it available? Where can it be used, and how do businesses go about maybe applying for something like that?
Yeah, so great question. So the construction mitigation loans are $3,000, and they're available through the Salt Lake City Economic Development Department. So if you visit our website with Salt Lake City, select the Economic Development Department, you can go in there to be able to get information about the application. Not only that, but the amazing staff in that department are there to help local businesses fill it out. So if there's any questions, there's a contact us, and you're welcome to reach out to our city experts who are able to provide more information about how to access those funds and how those funds can be used to complement other efforts by the city. I'll also call out the city has been working with businesses to develop not just specific signage for the roads, but also help them create maps for how their customers can get to their businesses for those businesses to share through their own social media.
How many businesses have gone under? Any idea? Or they all managed to stay afloat through this construction?
You know, we have had some turnover in businesses, but we don't necessarily have that data specific to the construction alone. I think it's important to recognize that businesses were under a lot of pressure coming out of the pandemic as well. And so there's been various factors that have caused some turnover in the area. But the businesses that are down there, like Sugar House Coffee, Tizante, Hopkins Brewery, these are places that are really central to our community. And I just really implore all of our residents to work with us through the construction, check out those maps that those businesses are putting out, and don't stop visiting your local businesses because we need you.
Sarah Young, thank you for joining us from the Salt Lake City Council.
It makes me want to go there after work and help them out.
It's tough. And when you lose 30% of your business, that
stinks.
It's unsustainable is what it is.
You can't do that month after month, year after year. Oh, I feel badly. I'm going to make a commitment to get over there. And maybe I won't go during rush hour.
Yeah.
You know.
Pick that time wisely.
Right. Or find another way to get in there. Maybe have Uber drop me off on the outskirts, just to help them out. So that's Sugar House, right around 21st South, right off I-80 there. A lot of businesses have been sustaining a lot of issues with getting customers there because, roads get shut down for construction, traffic gets diverted. I read it in the Tribune that one customer, Dave, had made so many detours that they got detoured right out of the, area and couldn't get to the parking lot. It's frustrating. Straight ahead. We have some good news. How about if we end the show on this Monday with some good news? Free rec passes all across Salt Lake County. We'll tell you who's eligible for the rec center passes next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media. Yeah. And fact-checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Curious about stem cells? Stem cell therapy is revolutionizing the medical industry. Tony Robbins, Joe Rogan, and Mel Gibson are all talking about the benefits, helping to repair damaged tissues, reduce inflammation, and improve recovery times for a variety of conditions, including chronic pain, injuries, hair loss, and skin care. It provides a promising alternative to traditional surgical procedures. Stem cell therapy may be the treatment for you. Join David Costellar, founder of Regenerative Research Group, for an evening of education on stem cell therapy, the features and benefits, this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehigh. Tickets are $20 at the door, or register for free at eventbrite.com and search stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. Join David for an evening of education on stem cells. Register for free admission, eventbrite.com stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. This Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehigh.
Summer is finally here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the summer. Clean before your barbecues, graduation parties, family reunions, and gatherings that you're hosting to make your guests feel right at home. Call the cleaning pros at Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at just $99. Plus, the 4th room free, and take 20% off your air ducts cleaning. You owe it to yourself, your health, and your home. Schedule your appointment at ZeroRes.com or call 801-288-9376 and ask for the KSL special. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean. Zero Res.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The inaugural She Money Summit is coming up soon in downtown Salt Lake City. This experimental event will be centered on the theme Money Matters. Local philanthropist, financier, and She Money founder Jackie Zahner joins us with more.
Whose signature is on over $1.3 trillion of U.S. currency? The answer is Rosie Rios, the 43rd Treasurer of the United States. And you can have the opportunity to hear from her on June 7th at the She Money Summit here in Salt Lake City. She is one of 14 amazing guest speakers and workshop leaders taking the stage at our inaugural She Money Summit. Wondering about She Money? It's a Utah-based company dedicated to supporting Women Plus on their journey to financial preparedness preparedness, wellness, and agency. We've hosted and participated in over 35 money-centric events over the past 18 months right here in Utah, thanks in part to the support of Zions Bank and our state legislature. As we like to say, money is not optional. We all need it to survive and to thrive. And what we have heard repeatedly from the many women attending is we need more guidance, education, community, and hands-on learning. That's what the She Money Summit is all about. Join us June 6th and 7th. Visit shemoney.com or shemoneysummit.com for more information.
The She Money Summit will feature a dynamic program of money talks, thought-provoking discussions, and more. Reimagine your relationship with money and take the next steps towards greater financial health. We hope to see you there. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
There's a really easy way to take us with you everywhere you go. All you need to do is sign up for the KSL News Radio app. You'll get our breaking news alerts. You'll get new content from our show. You'll be able to watch and listen to KSL News Radio live on our app stream. So what do you need to do? Super simple. You can get the KSL News Radio app by texting the word app, A-P-P, now to 57500.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, look for your primary election ballot in the mail this week. Second, Real Salt Lake is either tied or won 13 straight matches. Third, Dr. Anthony Fauci was grilled by a congressional committee this morning. 73 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, Mom and Dad, Grandma and Grandpa, ears up. It's a free way to keep your kiddos occupied this summer. The Salt Lake County is offering free rec center passes to kiddos who are 5 to 18 years old. They've made the announcement, and so now it's time to get your kids signed up for these free passes. I think this is awesome.
Couple that with maybe some free tracks, some free front runner. Free is amazing. That's great. It's also not free in most places. So, for example, if you want to go to Lagoon and get a season pass, that's going to set you back a couple of $100. If you want to go to Cherry Hill, that's $120 or $150 for a season pass. So those can be very expensive, especially if you have several children. That can be hundreds of dollars. So the idea of having a place where kids can go, have a little party, and do it for free, I mean, someone's paying for it, but the parents aren't paying for it.
Salt Lake County Council member Amy Winder Newton live on the line. These are rec centers that are located in neighborhoods. I used to live right across the street while we were raising our kids from the Cottonwood Heights Rec Center. Our kids would walk over there pretty regularly, Amy, and I would have loved the opportunity to have 3 free passes because the going rate looks like it's about $50 a kiddo.
Yeah, isn't this awesome? We are so excited about this. This is something that we're paying for out of our track fund. It's tourism dollars that we receive from people coming to visit the state. And so it's the tax that they pay. And that's how it's paying for our kids to get to go use these rec centers for free this summer and for the next year. So we're super excited. That includes open plunge at 18 swimming pools, public skate at 3 ice centers, 2 climbing walls in the valley. There's open gym time, weight rooms, fitness areas, walking tracks. I mean, this is a great way for our kids to put their phones away, participate in physical and social activities, have that real life in-person connection, and engage with their family. We hope the adults will come and buy annual passes so that they can come and play with their kids.
How much do you have to set aside for this?
So this program will cost us $2 million for the next year. And again, this doesn't come from property taxes or our general fund. This is from a different fund. And so we're really excited to see how it goes this next year. This last Saturday was our first day, and it went really well. Our rec center team has reported that, everything went well. We have about 28,500 registrants for this program. So we're super excited to see how this goes, and we just think this is really good for our kids. I mean, we're in the business, and as the county, we are the mental health authority for the state, and then we also have public health as one of our focuses. We also pay for the jail and criminal justice system. So for us to find proactive, healthy ways to keep our kiddos healthy and safe is really, really important to us. And it saves us money in the long run.
Salt Lake County Council member Amy Winder-Newton live on the line with us. The county announcing free rec passes for children for this summer, ages 5 to, is it 18 years old? Up to 18?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm looking at the rec center map. You've got one in Dimple Dell, which is in Sandy, West Jordan, Kearns, Harriman, Mill Creek. I talked about the one across the street from my house in Cottonwood Heights. Magna has one. Taylorsville, South Jordan as well. There's just no shortage of neighborhoods. We've got a couple in Salt Lake City, Amy, that have rec centers. And are all these under the county plan so kids can go there for free this summer?
Yeah, any of the Salt Lake County-owned rec centers are. We've got a couple of cities who have done their own rec centers, like Kearns has one, West Valley has one. Those are different. So, but most of the rec centers in the Valley are county-owned, and those will apply.
For the adults that may have a rec center pass already, are you afraid at all about capacity issues? Because if I've been paying for racquetball time, and all of a sudden I go there and everything's filled up, then I'm going to feel a little jilted on my annual pass.
Yeah, I mean, we are concerned about that. We definitely have staffed up so that we have capacity. And, a lot of times these rec centers are underutilized. And so this summer is going to be a good experiment for us to kind of see how it goes. We're calling this first year our pilot program to just kind of see where how everything works. But we think it's going to be really positive. I mean, sometimes you have like gym equipment that could be impacted, but still most of the time the kids aren't going to be in using the fitness equipment unless they're older. And so we don't think that's going to be a big impact on those who currently have passes. We think it will work really well.
I mean, if Dave goes to Dimple Dell to use the climbing wall, I mean, come on, right? I mean,
it's not used by a bunch of 50-year-old guys.
I'm sure there are people that are all ages that are using the climbing wall, but we're going to be like, all right, Dave, get off the climbing wall. But there's skating, there's ice skating, there's swimming. So this is awesome. Can parents still sign up their kids for this, Amy?
Absolutely. They just need to visit one of our rec centers, and they'll be able to get their kids signed up. They will have to show their ID or proof of Salt Lake County residency, and both the child and guardian must register in person. So they can visit any of our recreation centers.
And how long is this good for?
It's for the next year.
Oh, it's a 1 year pass.
Yes.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm hoping this is helpful to families that are looking for a way to entertain their kids, and with such tight budgets, Amy, it's become so unaffordable to do a lot of these things, like the fun parks and the water parks. I'm hoping this really takes off.
Yeah, well, we do too, and so far we're seeing a lot of success, lots of people signing up. We're excited to see how the summer goes, and then hopefully we'll continue this on.
And you're saying is this for all of Salt Lake County, or where is this line?
Yep, all of Salt Lake County. So everybody who lives in the Salt Lake Valley that's in Salt Lake County can come sign their kids up. And it's nice because if you're in double digits, if your kids are double digits, they could go by themselves. So if they're 10 and older, if they're under 10, they have to have somebody at least 14 years or older with them at all times. So we think this is a great way. We've got kids right now we've gone from a play-based childhood to a device-based childhood, and we want these kids to be playing. We see so much benefit to them to have this physical and emotional and social interaction with other people, and we just are excited about it. We feel like this is going to be a really good thing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Amy Winder-Newton with the Salt Lake County Council, and Debbie. An entire year?
That's awesome.
And that's incredible.
Yeah.
And also the fact that this is $1 million, $2 million, right? I don't want to minimize that, but quite honestly, we've spent millions, tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars on these rec centers.
Yeah.
to be able to give all the kids access to it for a couple $1,000,000, that seems like a fantastic investment.
Go play and have fun.
Yeah,
Go be a kid. Yeah, put your phone away. Go be a kid. There's no reason to be bored, and you get to make new friends.
Mm-hmm.
You get to exercise. There's so many positive things about this. You're not sitting around bored all summer long. There's no excuses now. Get over there. Go have some fun. So, slco.org. I'll tell you what we'll do. For free. We'll put this all together and put it on our website, kslnewsradio.com. So if you missed it and you want to know what we're talking about, you can head over there and we'll get you all the information and some links as well.
It'll be cool. I think it'll be used. I think she's absolutely right. The problem is not so much overuse of our rec centers. It's we're underutilizing them. Hopefully this spices things up, gets kids in there. I think it's a great idea.
Straight ahead. Maria has found that there's a new lawsuit. The state of Utah suing TikTok. Again?
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News.